Welcome to another edition of the podcast known as Blending the Family. I'm your host, Tommy Maloney. Before we get started, just want to let you know my new book, My Dad's Advice at 5:04 a.m., is available on the website, blendingfamily.com. And if you order it from the website, it will be autographed, or you can also go to Amazon and purchase it that way. Either way, the new book, My Dad's Advice at 5:04 a.m. is out. Now, on with the podcast.
So I think that's a very interesting question. This question actually spans across multiple cultures. Um, if you look at how India is structured as a family unit, more often than not, you find men who get married and become fathers. Their parents actually stay with them, so you already have a very strong support system, which is provided to the new father, uh, because of which it actually hampers the ability of the newly founded dad to really get into the thick of things consciously. Because at the back of the mind, that person knows that my parents, or the nanny at home, or many times the mother as well, she is the primary caregiver, and I just need to head to work, be the kind of bread earner, and come back home to be with my family. So this has been a huge generational problem, which has spanned across decades and eras. Um, but what has happened is, during COVID, when everybody was stuck at home, uh, most of the people were forced to get into taking care of their children as well, which has never been the case earlier. And that, I think, has given a lot of men a realization that it's actually a very wonderful feeling to be with your children, because that has allowed them to bond with their children better.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast known as Blending the Family. I'm your host, Tommy Maloney, where it is currently -6 Celsius, which equals 20 Fahrenheit, in case you needed to know that. How are you doing? You doing good? Stay warm. Hopefully the heater does not kick in while I'm recording this. On this episode, we have Rupesh Bhambwani. I forgot what I was doing. I'm trying to do too much. Let's try it again. Rupesh Bhambwani is on this episode. Rupesh, I believe, is the farthest guest I've ever recorded. He is in India. He has spent time in the States. I am going to tell you that I am recording this in an undisclosed location, but I will just say 2 words to you: maple leaf. There you go. Rupesh and I talk about things on this episode. We mention he went from the corner office to the home office. Talk a lot about culture when it comes to the differences in fatherhood between, I guess, the Eastern culture and Western culture. It was very, very eye-opening. And Rupesh is also the founder of Cool Dads Club. I am a member. I don't know why they let me in, but guess what, moms? You can be part of that as well. And I hope you do become a member of Cool Dads Club, which you can find on LinkedIn. Why do I have... Okay, I don't need anything there. Hold on, let me just check. All right, so just checking my paper. All right. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to get into a lot of details because I'm not too happy with my sound. The reason why is, again, as I said, traveling. I didn't bring my studio mic with me. I just don't like bringing it with me when I travel. My very first mic has been trashed, and so I don't want to, for Christmas, my wife was kind enough to get me a brand new microphone, and that is staying at home. I am using my headphones from my iPhone doing this, and it's okay. I don't like when I turn my head, it makes that weird sound. I just want to say thank you to all of you who are listening and downloading. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. I've been having a lot of conversations with friends in the podcasting space. And if you have thoughts, email me at tommy@blendingthefamily.com, tommy@blendingthefamily.com. One of the things I'm pondering, just taking a break and making some changes. Uh-oh. I thought I heard the heater kicking. Again, did I mention it's -6 Celsius? It's just a thought that I would like to make some changes to this podcast. And I've got a crazy upcoming travel schedule, doing a lot of training all over. And I'm super pumped, super excited. Some of the places I'm going. I am going to mention this. I was notified today that I am going to Nova Scotia. I'm going to, I can't remember, new something in Nova Scotia. So look out, Nova Scotia. I'm coming to your town. You're part of the Canadian country, and I am excited. Except for it being winter and having I want to say a 2-hour drive, because I fly into Halifax and have to drive north. So anyway, but I am all done with that. Oh, hold on. I do want to mention one thing. As I've been traveling, I've been checking out Toastmaster clubs, and I checked out one. You know what? I'm going to just say it. In Regina, Canada, Regina, Saskatchewan, checked out the club that meets on Tuesday nights, and I am drawing a blank the name of it. Go to Toastmasters International website, Regina, Saskatchewan, Tuesday nights. Great group. Brad, the president, fantastic person. Maybe I can just pull up my email if I was a smart man, and we will see if I can get the name of that in case you want to know how to become a member. They do a hybrid club, and that was interesting. The technology, so interesting. Oh, Wasakana Toastmasters. There you go. So if you ever visit them, tell them Tommy says hi. That's it. That's all I'm going to ramble on, because, again, I'm not too thrilled about my sound. Rupesh Bhambwani, founder of Cool Dads Club. Like I said, we talk about different cultures of fatherhood and parenting, East culture, West culture, and how he went from the corner office to the home office, which I can't wait. I can't wait to the day when I can say, I'm just going to work from home. But again, I'm going to Nova Scotia. But we'll save that for another day. All right. And my hope before we go is that anything you've learned throughout the many, many episodes of the podcast has helped you become successful. Check out my information on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn at the Tommy Maloney. Same thing with Rupesh. You can find Rupesh. The way he spells his last name is Bhambwani. Rupesh Bhambwani. You can find him on LinkedIn. Puts out a lot of great parenting, fatherhood, technology content. Okay. So I hope you're successful. I hope things that you've learned throughout these many episodes have made you successful. There you go. You know where I'm going with this. As Terry Crews would say, your success is my success. I think the first question out of the box, Rupesh, number one, I think you are the farthest guest I've ever had on the podcast. You being in Zimbabwe.
That's right.
I've talked to people in England, the London area. So you, my friend, are the farthest guest. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be, your father's guest.
So the first question I want to ask you, Rupesh, is something I saw on your LinkedIn profile.
Mhm.
You have uh, the phrase "Go beyond the stars."
Right, right.
What does that mean?
So, in quite simple terms, I think we as human beings grossly underestimate our potential to do things. We are quite limited with what we hear, what we see, and what we read, and sometimes even what we experience. But I, over the years, have come to realization that there's always that extra inch that you can cover, um, and only I think if you're willing to push beyond, go beyond, uh, you can actually end up doing some very extraordinary things in life, not only for yourself but for people around you, your family, your children, your work, your parents. And I think it applies in all aspects of who we are as a human race.
Where did that philosophy for you come from? How was that influenced?
Mm, I think this kind of goes back probably 11 to 12 years back, when my first daughter was born. Um, as you would know, right? Nothing teaches you how to be a father, or how to hold a baby, or how to react to what comes in front of you. Um, I think I went through a huge transformational change. Once my daughter arrived, um, and I realized that I am able to do things which I never thought I was capable of doing. And that happened because I was consciously putting myself in those situations to do things. I was trying to be on the front lines, when it was required. And to my surprise, I kind of realized that it is very much doable. Probably you are willing to just put yourself out there. And I think there are tons of experiences and examples that have taken place over the last 11 plus years now. And we do have a second son as well. He's going to turn 7 next weekend. um, and I think it kind of all comes together from the fact that uh, to a large extent, kids act as a very strong catalyst of pushing you beyond your comfort zones and beyond your boundaries. Um, so
Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. Good, good or bad, yes, they do push your boundaries.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, I think it kind of comes from there.
When you talk about what you were going through when your daughter was first born, what changes did you feel that you were going through, what you were experiencing as a first time father?
Um, So the I think most important change that I went through was I realized that um, I had certain emotions in me as a person, or as a husband, uh, that were probably untapped, or they had not got the opportunity to come out in the open. As you know, right, when you are single, or when you are dating, or when you are married, the world is very different around you. You have a different lens on you. You don't express, or you don't talk much about certain emotional things, and then it is all the boy talk or the machism which comes to the surface. But when my daughter came along, I realized that It can't work like that anymore. In order to get more connected with my daughter, I had to shed a lot of my inhibitions that I had. And there were certain moments which kind of brought to light things which were not imaginable before. So, for example, when my daughter was born, on the night when she was with me, um, uh, I was holding her, and she let out a small sneeze, um, and she trembled. Her whole body trembled. She was such a tiny piece, and I got terrified. I didn't know what to do, because here is this small blob in my hand, and that entire thing is shaking a lot. I rushed out to my mom and I said, this is what happened. Is she okay? And she just looked at me. She said, "Welcome to fatherhood."
Yeah, exactly. You nailed it, because I I feel that when we men are hanging out with our buddies
Hmm.
and we're just maybe we're out just having coffee, drinks, what have you,
Right.
we really don't talk about emotions. We really don't talk about if one of our friends is feeling depressed. We don't
Right.
have those conversations.
Right.
But when you do become a parent,
Hmm.
those emotions become a little bit more realistic. And there was actually a study out saying that men's brains, when they become fathers, change.
Hmm.
And so, one of the things that I discovered, when not only when I was a stay-at-home dad, but when I was a first-time dad,
Right.
was I was a little bit more emotional. And but again, being a man, being that tough macho
Hmm.
guy,
Hmm.
I couldn't reach out to anybody of my friends and say, "Hey, maybe we just like the moms are sleep deprived, or maybe like you're talking about when your daughter sneezed the first time and
Right.
you're in that panic mode,
Right.
and you reached out to your mom. I
Hmm.
mean, I would have done the same thing. I don't
Right.
think I would have reached out to my dad. And so
Abs.
my question is, you being the founding member of the Global Dad Council,
Right.
have you seen a shift in the years of you being a dad, as far as more men being vulnerable, more men being open, more men asking for help?
Um, so I think that's a very interesting question. This question actually spans across multiple cultures. If you look at how India is structured as a family unit, more often than not, you find men who get married and become fathers. Their parents actually stay with them, so you already have a very strong support system, which is provided to the new father, uh, because of which it actually hampers the ability of the newly founded dad to really get into the thick of things consciously, because at the back of the mind, that person knows that my parents, or the nanny at home, or many times the mother as well, she is the primary caregiver, and I just need to head to work, be the kind of bread earner, and come back home to be with my family. So this has been a huge generational problem, which has spanned across decades and eras. Um, but what has happened is, during COVID, when everybody was stuck at home, uh, most of the people were forced to get into taking care of their children as well, which has never been the case earlier. And that, I think, has given a lot of men a realization that it's actually a very wonderful feeling to be with your children, because that has allowed them to bond with their children better. It all comes down to time. If you're willing to give in the time, um, you can build opportunities to bond and have fun with your children. You get to understand them. So there is a very slight shift that has taken place in the last, I would say, 2+ years now. But that critical aspect of being able to open up to share your emotions, to share your fears, or to share your challenges is something that we've still not reached as yet, especially in India. Uh, while I see that shift taking place at a much faster rate in some of the other countries, because I would say that these dad communities have been operational for many years now in the US or in the UK, take Singapore or even Australia. So I see a lot of fathers out there coming out from the basement, and at least willing to give it a shot to conversations. But I think in India, I think we're still lagging behind a lot.
Well, I think you bring up a valid point of culture because, as you were saying about the your Indian heritage, your Indian family, Rupesh, is
Right.
that your parents are there. Here
Yep.
in the States, I remember when my son was born. I think my mom was out for didn't come out until I think his first year for his
Right.
first birthday.
Right.
I don't think I think my wife's sister came out
Hmm.
for maybe a week.
Hmm.
So it is a different culture here in America, here in the States,
Yep.
where the expectation is family members will come out, but they won't stay, for a long period of time versus what you're telling me,
Hmm.
when your children are born, their grandparents are right there to be part of their lives right
Hmm.
away.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're true. The cultural angle out here is quite stark. To kind of give you one more example out here, when a wife is pregnant out here in India, call it the cultural angle or call it the heritage, as you rightly said. The wife actually goes and stays with her mom during the crucial years of a pregnancy period, and that's the time when she needs a lot of help. That's a time where she needs a lot of emotional support. She needs to go to a doctor's visits, right?
Right.
More often than not, all these responsibilities actually come on the wife's mother because she's staying with her, and it could be either in the same city or it could be in a different state. When the wife is about to deliver, the husband travels to that city or the husband travels to that state, and he's there during the last 2 or 3 days of the delivery. But more often than not, this entire box of responsibility falls on the wife's mother. So if that is the case, uh, uh, how do you expect the man to actually really connect with his wife, which is actually the most crucial years for the husband to connect with his wife, because she's extremely vulnerable. She needs the most amount of emotional support from her husband, and she needs him for doctor's visits. So,
I remember when my former wife was pregnant the first time.
hmm,
And yeah, I made sure that I took the necessary time off to go with her to all the doctor appointments. And unfortunately, we were uh, our first baby did not come to term,
hmm,
but very very blessed that our son uh, did. And so especially the second time, the second pregnancy, I really, really wanted to make sure that I was present. I was
hmm,
there for every moment because, life is precious, and I mean, we're not guaranteed tomorrow as well.
right.
Um, my question though is when in the Indian culture, have you seen a little bit of a shift though with more men playing a more active role during the early stages of their wives being pregnant, or do you still see the same type of, I guess the word tradition of the wife staying with her mother?
No, so I think the shift is definitely taking place. I would give credit to the younger generation, fathers who are coming through the gates. What's happening is it is also because of the fact that these days when people get married, they choose to go and stay in a different apartment or a different city or a different country, right? And because of that, one, it forces some of the men to take up the responsibility because there is no support system now that exists around you. But also, what happens is a lot of men now are wanting to get involved, are wanting to, take up the responsibility of, being that dad. So that shift is definitely taking place, and it is taking place with the younger generation of the dads now, and it is good to see because what I do is as part of the Cool Dads Club as well, which we'll talk about later. I interview a lot of dads. I kind of reach out to them and understand about their fatherhood journey, and I see a very mix of these dads out there. The older generation obviously had the right support system to look after their children when they were growing up, but the younger generation dads, they are far more involved. I mean, I have some absolutely amazing story of fathers who have really stepped up to the plate on day one itself, right? And they're doing a fantastic job of being a dad.
Let's talk. Let's definitely go into talking about Cool Dads Club. So, as I had mentioned, you're the founding member of Global Dads Council.
Right.
What is Cool Dads Club, and how did it all come about?
So 2019, I took an exit from the corporate rat race. I was part of the corporate culture for a couple of decades, and that time both my children, my daughter was around 8 years old, and my son was around 4 years old, and I realized that these are the absolute crucial golden years to be kind of spending time with them, and my work was obviously not allowing me to do that. So I decided to take a break from my work and spend time with them. During that time, I kind of thought about it, and I said, hey, this is just not me. This is just not my desire, to spend time with children. This must be a case with other fathers as well. Everybody has different constraints and restrictions in order to do that. So I kind of looked around, and I was quite surprised and shocked that there was not even a single dad's community or a support group that you could be part of. And there were tons of moms groups out there, right? You look in any neighborhood, there are at least 10, 15 moms groups operating very well. So I decided to start this thing as a Cool Dads Club, more as a mechanism for like-minded dads to come together on a common platform. And initially it was just my close friends, some of my business connections as well. And it started off as a small group on a WhatsApp. But over the years, I have seen that a lot more dads are wanting to be part of the group. The reason being that it is one platform where it is non-judgmental. Nobody is raising an eyebrow to any conversation that you would like to have, and nobody is trying to put you down or express a shock or laugh at you when you are sharing any kind of a personal story or a challenge or a fear. So, Cool Dads Club is nothing but a group of like-minded dads who are on a platform, engaging on a daily basis, talking about their experiences as a father, their challenges as a father, and we also talk about different other topics as well to keep the day engaged and active. So that's where Cool Dads kind of came along from.
Let me ask you this, Rupesh. Through the Cool Dads Club, through some of the dads' experiences, stories. Is there something that's so far in the young couple years that you've created this? Is there a particular story or a couple stories that really stand out about fatherhood to you from the aspect of building the Cool Dads Club and you taking a step back going, yes, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. So are there any stories or a particular story that resonate with you?
Mm, So the the group when it started, it was mostly the older dads. So I'm 48 now, right? So obviously, most of the initial dads who got on board to Cool Dads Club were, fathers of my own age, in the bracket of between say, 40 to 45, 46. And initially, I noticed that there were not many conversations around, fatherhood, even though I would kind of initiate some personal experiences or conversations around that. But there was a lot of, hesitancy in coming forward. And I could understand that why that is happening, because fathers have never had a platform, or nobody has nudged them, or poked at them to talk about what they feel, or how they are wanting to raise their children, or how to get involved. That went on for, I think, quite some time, almost a year and a half. But in the recent, I would say, a year or so, a lot of younger dads, started joining the club, and I could see a major shift taking place, because this younger generation who is more wanting to get involved in the journey of fatherhood, were open to sharing about what they have done, how they are spending time with their children, what they would like to do with their children. They're talking about education, they're talking about school issues, they're talking about things like bullying that is happening in schools and how to tackle those. And because this cohort of dads was coming out, uh, the older generation dads now started opening up as well. And that was an aha moment for me, and I was like, yeah, this is exactly what you need for this particular club. The young generation kind of being more open about it. So now I think we are right there, where I think none of the dads in the group has any doubt in their minds whether they can talk or not talk about their personal issues on the club. So that was a big change that I saw.
You're a youngster compared to me there, Rupesh. Oh, I would love to go back to being 45, 46. Heck, I'll even push for 48.
Right.
Um, Looking at, you know, culturally, because you do have, again, a global network of
Hmm.
dads.
Hmm.
Is there anything that stands out that is different between your group of friends there in India versus what you've learned maybe here in the States or in the UK? I want to take a quick break just to remind you that my new book, My Dad's Advice at 5:04 a.m., is available on the website, blendingthefamily.com. And if you order it from the website, it will be autographed. Or you can go to Amazon and also purchase the book. Again, the name of that book, My Dad's Advice at 5:04 a.m. Now, let's get back to our guest. Shall we? Let's.
Mhm. Sure. So, this again was a very conscious effort to actually bring on dads from other countries and other cultures as well into the group, um, more from the point of view of, cross pollinating ideas across different cultures. And that's where the engagement of, reaching out to more dad communities, outside India, started. So now we do have dads who are on the club from the US, the Canada. We have few dads from Singapore, from Australia as well. Um, those individuals obviously are doing a lot more. right? One, because there is no support system, around them to lean on. But more importantly, what I've seen is that most of these dads who are part of Cool Dads Club uh, have already been part of some communities in their respective regions or cities. So they are they are quite enthusiastic. They are quite involved, and they've gone through a certain process of understanding what is that you need to do to become a dad. So when these individuals have conversations onto the WhatsApp platform, there is a lot more real stories that come into play, and you would find that many dads from India, they are wanting to understand better. They're trying to probe. They're trying to think through that these are the different ways as well where we can spend time. Like, for example, you would see a lot of dads in other countries. They're very involved in the sports activities of their children, right? So in India, you don't find that happening much, except for the sport of cricket, which is a national religion for India. But the responsibility of taking your child for a soccer game or a football game, or for any kind of a sporting event, usually falls either on the mom, the nanny, or the grandparents, because the dad is working in the office all day long. And that dad then becomes a weekend dad to play little sports with their kids. Now that is definitely a big change, because when I see dads in Australia or in the US or Canada, dads are more involved in the sporting activities of the children. So having folks who come from different cultures into the group, I think allows dads to kind of cross pollinate these ideas a lot.
Um, so are you saying in your experience, Rupesh, that it's frowned upon within the Indian culture that if they're uh, the dad, that if their child has a sporting event, that they can't go to, their boss and say, "Hey, my son, my daughter has a cricket match. I need to take time off." Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. You can forget your promotion in the corner office if you start
Oh
doing
my
that.
gosh.
Yeah, so
Brutal.
absolutely, this is something which needs to change in the biggest way in the Indian context out here, because the minute you say at say 5 p.m. in the evening that you need to step out for a sporting engagement for your child, or even a simple thing that you need to take your child for a birthday party or a play date, right? It is kind of looked down upon. You may not have people telling you on your face, but it does get registered with your manager, with your leader, because he's the one who's sitting till he or she is sitting till 9-10 p.m. in the night in the office, and leaving at 5 p.m. in India is kind of looked at as if you're taking a half a day from work.
I think I can finally connect the dots. I think I can connect the dots now for you, Rupesh. And that is, you did not want to be part of that culture. You wanted to be a dad. You wanted to spend quality time with your kids versus spending time in the office.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing. That is,
Absolutely.
and that is so commendable. I mean, again, you have a culture, and I can't talk to it other than hearing you speak, Rupesh. But you have a culture that says work first and family, maybe in the top five.
That's right. That's right. I think you got the sweet spot out here. It is literally swimming against the tide.
You said earlier when you were talking about some of the other dads in different countries, they have no support system. What do you mean by that?
So it's like this, right? I've lived in the US as well, for a few years, before
Hmm.
I got married. What I saw was, quite interesting. The When I talk about the support system, I look at it from the point of view that it it kind of is about getting the right people around you when you need any things to be taken care of. So it could be as simple as, you need to, go with your wife to some place, right? Where do you leave your kid behind? It is very difficult to leave your kid with a neighbor. Your parents are not staying close with you. Nobody's going to come to your house at a short notice except for a babysitter, but you have to pay for it. um, that's the kind of, support system I look at. So one is about being very transactional in nature. Second thing is, and more importantly, I believe that uh, you need a village to raise a child, right? Kids don't have to just learn from the mom and dad. Kids can learn from your neighbors. Kids can learn from your aunt, from your uncle, from grandparents. Um, so these are the different channels by which I think a kid should, learn, to kind of grow. And in some of the western, countries, you see that that support structure is not readily available. It has to be planned, either during Thanksgiving or during, Christmas, or like a birthday celebration. In India, I think in one way, I see that that kind of helps a lot for the child to grow, with the right kind of people that you want to surround them with. And they don't have to be purely dependent upon what the mother and father are trying to, work with them. Because let's kind of look at it from this point of view, right? There is more wisdom that lies with our parents, which is the kids' grandparents, than with us as the parents themselves, because we are still in that learning process and a phase. We were still kind of going through that journey. But our parents have gone through that. They know what to expect when the kid is not keeping well, or when the kid is having some trouble. Um, so these kind of support systems and structures are very loose in, some of the countries, because of which it can lead to challenges for the parents to kind of raise their children.
Well, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking the one um, because our kids are being raised with a different technology than our parents were. So some of that. So, for example, cyberbullying.
Hmm.
Our parents didn't go through that,
Right.
so that's a challenge right there too. Rupesh, is who can we reach out to other than go on Google and Google how do I protect my child from
Yep.
cyberbullying? But
Yep.
I do like the fact that you're talking about creating a network, and like you said, it doesn't have to be the immediate family.
Right.
It's a a positive influence to support our kids. And I remember being a stay-at-home dad, and I really didn't have that either. And I think
Right.
that if I was in a different part of the world,
Hmm.
I might have been able to have different types of conversations through a different network.
Right.
But I see what you're saying as far as relying on our parents, because our parents been there, done that, got the
Right.
T-shirt.
Right.
But there are but there are areas that we we parents have to um, learn how to navigate. And
Abs-
so even though they might not have the same experience, they might have a good observation from
hmm.
their point of view.
Sure.
um, and as I'm standing here, because I do have a standing desk,
Okay.
as I'm standing
Well
here,
done.
thinking about we have in our household right now, my wife's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
is living with us.
Okay.
He and his fiance moved back from the East Coast, and
Mm-hmm.
her parents live across town. He
Okay.
stays with us. They have a 2.5-year-old son, and it goes back to what you said. It's
Mm.
raising a village.
Mm.
So, my wife's nephew, his son, um, gets the opportunity to
Mm.
spend time in our household. He
Right.
gets time to spend in another household, and he
Right.
gets um, a little bit of an education. And so
Right.
I am very grateful that I get to drop some knowledge on him, even though he's 2.5. He doesn't understand my wacky sense of humor,
Right.
but but as I think about being a parent to not only I have two bonus daughters, but a son as well, and
Yep.
thinking about what they went through
Mm.
as they grew up, now I can take some of the lessons I learned from them
Mm.
and occasionally
Mm.
shared lessons with them, and they could take it or leave it.
Yep.
But
No.
but it's an opportunity, like you said, Rupesh, about it doesn't always have to be that family member. It could be somebody else that can have a positive influence. And I see where you're going with creating a global space
Mm.
for we dads to share and be able to say, "Hey, I screwed up.
Right.
Has anybody else gone through this?
Right.
Help me."
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I think you I think I've got it perfectly out there. And the mere fact that you have you have had an open mind with your wife to have your nephew come and stay with you with his wife and with his son. you know that's exactly the kind of environment that we should be striving to provide our children, because they need to connect with other people as well. Who has said that kids have to learn only from mom and dad? We are not the end of all for our children. Our kids, as they go through the different phases of their lives, which I'm sure you would have gone through much more than what I have. At different stages of their lives, they need different kind of people to connect with. There will come a time when my daughter may not want to talk to me as often as she would want to talk to, say, my sister, or my sister's son for that matter, who's
Right,
almost
right.
20 years old, and my daughter is 11 years old. They're already connected so well that I'm very confident that in the near future, I want that relationship to bond when I'm not there, which is a fact. I mean, I'm 48. I may run the distance for another 40, 50 years, but beyond that, you need to create these hooks and connections now with your extended family members and some very close friends, uh, who can actually be the guiding points, or be the pillars of relationship for our children. You got to think on those lines.
Well, and the great thing about technology now is, if there is, let's say a teenager
Hmm.
and maybe they wanted to get into, entrepreneurship,
Right.
and Uncle Rupesh has that experience,
Right.
but we're not in the same town. Guess
Hmm.
what? We can
Hmm.
video chat.
Yep.
We can talk, about what you've gone through and share that experience. And I remember, for example, when my son first got his first cell phone,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he was 10,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little younger, and people were like, "Why would you do that?" And I
Right.
would say, "I don't live in that same household.
Hmm.
This is just another extension of how I can communicate with my son."
Right.
Being a divorced dad,
Hmm.
you talked earlier about, in your culture, even though the dads, it's a married, they're the family, it's a solid unit,
Right.
but the dad is the weekend dad.
Hmm. Hmm.
In my world, that's what I was. I
Right.
was, the every other weekend,
Right.
but I still had a way to connect with my son because of technology. And again, a lot of people poo-poo technology
Hmm.
for young children. But
Hmm.
if you're divorced, or I know you were talking before we start recording about
Hmm.
traveling.
Right.
If you travel for work,
Hmm.
this is another way to stay connected with your kids by FaceTiming them and do story times, or if it's bath time, you can still have the capability of being not physically present, but maybe emotionally present.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I think it's about using the technology in a manner which works for you and which is beneficial for you and your family. I think if we use that approach to technology, I think that's a wonderful area to operate in, because it allows you to stay connected, despite the challenges that one may have.
Between the Cool Dads Club, between your own network of dads, what have you seen that dads are doing better than previous generations?
Mm, so, what I see personally on the network out here, and I think outside India as well, which is where the Global Dads Council also comes in, is that dads have got into a lot into their fitness journeys in the last maybe a decade or so. And what is really good to see is that there are many dads on the Cool Dads Club network now, who are actually acting as role models, inspiring their children to actually take up fitness activities along with them. So there are dads which are marathon runners on the group, right? There are a couple of dads who have done Ironman, and they are actually motivating their children to get into fitness much more earlier. So you will see dads running a marathon with their 11-year-old child, right? You will see a mom running along with them as well, right? Which would never have been the case 20 years back in India. So what's happening now is that I think a lot of dads are becoming very conscious about their fitness and health. Yes, it is very challenging when you are managing a Monday to Friday kind of a job, and then you have very very limited time to look after yourself. But despite these challenges and hurdles, it's really impressive to see dads kind of doing this with their children, uh, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
I'm so happy you're talking about fitness because I struggle with mine immensely as a, road warrior, as somebody who travels a lot for work. And recently, my son was over, and of course, he's giving me all the fat jokes,
Right.
and honestly, Rupesh, I deserve it. I do deserve it. And it's so funny because you're talking, about these dads and motivating others. It's the reverse right
Hmm.
now. After seeing my son plays hockey,
Okay.
hockey out in California,
Mm-hmm.
and when he's not on the ice, he's in the gym. When he's not in the gym,
Wow.
he's rollerblading. When he's not
Hmm.
rollerblading,
Hmm.
he is eventually resting.
Hmm.
So he has inspired me to say, all right, and enough's enough.
Hmm.
One of the things I just recently did was, here's a shout out to an app called Sweatcoin. I don't know
Okay.
if you're familiar with Sweatcoin, but the
Hmm.
more you walk,
Hmm.
you earn money. So
Okay.
I'm like, all excited about that because now my wife and I are getting back into our health journey of
Hmm.
walking every day.
Right.
What advice, and I'm going to be selfish on this, Rupesh. I'm going to be
Sure.
honest with you. This is for the listeners right now.
Right.
Just kick back, relax. What advice can you give me as somebody who travels just like you,
Hmm.
how can I be better at not just my fitness, but how can I be better at maybe my eating habits? What do you recommend, Rupesh?
It's a very interesting question, right? And my view on that is extremely simple, which I have been trying to inculcate into my lifestyle as well. Is keep things simple, the KISS principle, right? So, for example, when we are traveling, right, we definitely go through an airport, right? Now,
Right.
it's very tempting and very natural for us to take an escalator, which just takes us up from a floor to floor, but nobody bothers to take the stairs. So do that. Take the stairs, right? Uh,
Hmm.
you climb 20 stairs. That's the cardio right there for you, right? You reach a hotel. Instead of taking the elevator, climb the stairs. Even if it's 2 floors, you may stay on the 10th floor, but climb 2 floors. From the third floor onwards, you take the elevator. It's fine. So it is very easy to incorporate these small activities in your daily routine. We don't need to have expensive gym equipment. We don't need to have fancy shoes or the smart watches or take a membership of a gym. Just walking, you know 30 minutes a day is extremely good for your body. It is extremely good for your mental health, and there is science behind it, right? So not only you are getting in your physical routine during the day, but it also has a very positive impact on how you think and how you feel through the day. So uh, walking for 30 minutes, taking the steps wherever you are, is the most easiest way that I have learned, that you can incorporate into fitness routines. Because there are days when, despite taking a gym membership, you don't feel like going, which happens to a lot of people. Guess what? You can just take the steps, and you're good for it. 15 minutes of that, I think, can get you a good workout for the day. So that's on the fitness side. On the health side, um, I can say this with full embarrassment out here, that for many years when I was traveling, I would just say no to home food. Whenever I traveled, even if I was working in the same city in my office, I would never carry my home food. Always eat out, right? The
Right.
dinners, the lunches, multiple coffees during the day, 3 4 teas in the day, and we don't realize that. But I think all this messes up our system, which only comes to the surface when we are 50 plus, 60 plus. I think staying to basic home food as much as we can, avoiding sugar, avoiding carbonated drinks, I think is the best thing you can do for your body. There's no harm in eating a burger once in a while. There's no harm in eating a pizza. There's no harm in having a Coke once in a while. But I think just reducing the amount of sugar, outside food, and carbonated drinks, can do wonders to your entire system.
Well, I have to tell you, I was traveling with a colleague, a good friend of mine named Orville,
Hmm.
and Orville is very, very health conscious, and the two restaurants we went to, um, the both restaurants offered us bread, and
Hmm.
that is for me, Rupesh. When I have bread, oh my gosh, I have to have my bread. Orville's like, nope, that's my kryptonite. Get it away from me.
Right.
And I have to admit, I was like a drug dealer. The first
Yep.
one's free,
Yep.
and I said to Orville, "You've got to try this bread. You've
Yep.
got to try this bread."
Yeah.
And he did. He was very good. He had one piece.
Right.
I had the rest. But it goes back to what you were saying originally.
Hmm.
Keep it simple.
Keep it
You
simple. Yeah.
know, you can say no to things when they say, "Would you like some bread?"
Hmm.
You can say no. I mean,
Hmm.
I've tried. Believe me,
Hmm.
Rupesh, I've
Yeah.
tried. But you can, and I will admit, when you talk about taking the stairs,
Yeah.
I take the stairs a lot, especially here. at the Denver airport.
Hmm.
It's going through this massive construction,
Right.
and so when you get people off the train from the
Hmm.
gates, and it's just so many people trying to get on the escalator, I'm
Right.
like, nope, I do take the stairs. And by
There
the
you go.
time I get to the top stairs, I'm
Hmm.
huffing and puffing. I'm like, I need my oxygen because
Yep.
here in Colorado our oxygen is kind of thin.
Right. Right.
Um, what what has helped you? What is like something that's really helped you as a business traveler that you can share with, again, it's just this is me time right now.
Right. Right.
So what is something, I know you said take the stairs,
Hmm.
try and be more health conscious when eating, but what is something that's really helped you that uh, became a habit right away?
Mm, so uh, when I used to travel a lot, right? I admit that I was not very fitness and health conscious during that time, right? I think just like everybody, right? We go through our phases. The realization sometimes come early. Sometimes it comes too late in life. So I did not have realization about being, healthy and fit during the time when I was traveling. um, my my I think trigger for being focused on my fitness and health came from my desire to actually carry my children in my arms. Brutal truth.
Ah,
Brutal truth.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Right. I have this extreme strong desire to carry my children whenever it is possible, or whenever they ask me to, or whenever I feel like, because a day will come in my life when I would want to pick up my children, and either they would be too big to be carried, or they'd be too heavy, or they would say no from being carried. um, so just to get myself in that position to carry my children, I actually started working out quite a lot. The more I worked out, the more I was able to say no, because when I have put in that 1.5 hour of solid effort in the gym or climbing the stairs, it's a lot of work. And then the next day, if somebody offers me say a carbonated drink, or something to eat which I don't want to, it's actually much easier for me to say no, because I don't want to waste my 2 hours that I spent in the gym yesterday. It all gets nullified with one bagel, or with one sweet ice cream. All that effort of 2 hours has just gone down the drain with that one action. So what I've realized is, uh, going and doing your fitness activities makes it much easier to say no for some of the foods that you don't want to take.
My gosh, you've inspired me, Rupesh. Yes, by the way, for the record, yesterday I had over 14,000 steps.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive now.
Well, let's the key word here is consistency. So, after you and I speak, I'm going to change clothes, take my wife to work. From there, our fur baby Otis, our
Hmm.
dog, he and I will
Right.
go to the dog park. He will
Right.
go play. I will do my laps, and hopefully, I will come close again. Well, my goal obviously is, even though it was a marketing campaign back in the 60s, the whole 10,000 steps,
Hmm.
but I still will do my best to achieve getting my 10,000 steps each
Yeah.
and every day.
There you go. I think, Tommy, the word is consistency, right?
Yeah.
Doing it every day, even if for 15 minutes. But get out there, wear your shoes, just get out of the house. That itself is a win. So, doing it every day, doing the small steps, and incorporating that into your daily routine, I think is the best model for keeping yourself fit.
Rupesh, this is twice you and I have spoken, and twice you have just, again, inspired me. I am so blessed and honored that we have connected. I am so looking forward to seeing more and more dads on the site, on the Cool Dads Club on LinkedIn, because that's where I hang out, is on
Right.
LinkedIn.
Right.
Um, so again, I am so inspired by what you have done by saying to the corporate world, I'm done. I'd rather be a full-time dad than sitting here and knowing that I don't want that corner office. My
Right.
corner office is at home.
Right. No, no, absolutely right. Tommy, I think you kind of captured it quite well. I mean, we've spoken twice now, and you know, just having a conversation with a fellow dad every single time uh, is such a great experience, because it allows me as a person, as a father, to learn what other dads have gone through, or what they're trying to do different. And sometimes, just picking up those finer details and incorporating that into my personal life, is it allows me to make my journey a little bit more pleasant with my children. So, thank you very much, for this opportunity to have this conversation with you. I absolutely enjoyed it. I think the questions were fantastic. I mean,
Oh,
excellent
thank you.
research on the questions. So,
Let me just before we end here, Rupesh Bhambwani, how can the listeners get a hold of you, get a hold of the Cool Dads Club, and maybe be a part of the Global Dad Council?
sure. So, we have a very strong presence on LinkedIn. So anybody who's interested can look up Cool Dads Club on LinkedIn. That's where they'll find the link. The other way to reach out is, just reach out on my profile, which is Rupesh Bhambwani. And you will see that in my title, the first word itself is Cool Dad, so you can't miss that. And we also have this Global Dads Council, which is a network of dad founders of various communities across the globe. We would be releasing some of our podcasts in the coming weeks from now, just before Christmas. So if anybody is interested to be part of the Global Dads Council, they can also look that up on LinkedIn as well. And then, yes, finally we have the WhatsApp group. If you are interested to be part of the WhatsApp group, you will get those links from the LinkedIn profile. So it is very easy to join from there if you're interested.
Rupesh, thank you so much. I again, I know the time zones are different right now. So as we're recording this, it is AM and it's PM to you.
Right. Right.
But like I said, your this conversation is going to carry me not only today, but the rest of my week, as I'm going to start thinking of healthier choices, but I'm also going to think about how I can help Cool Dads Club.
Right.
So, Rupesh, you're the man. As the kids would say, you're the man.com. Well, maybe they don't say that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess if my kids, hear that, they will surely have a great laugh on me. So, no, but great. Thank you very much for taking out the time. As I know, it's early morning for you as well, and it's a start of the week for you. So it's been absolutely pleasure to talk and have this session of brainstorming various ideas around the fatherhood journey.
Before you go, don't forget blog post on Substack, Blending the Family on Substack, Blending the Family on Substack. Subscribe.